And then guys, welcome back to the channel. Obviously less than 2 weeks since the domestic season finished, and it already feels like a lot's been taking place. Not particularly with player transfers, but with movement in managerial positions. There's obviously been a number of top jobs that have changed hands. Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Juventus, a number of big European clubs that have had new managers in. Spurs still looking for a manager, and perhaps unexpectedly, Everton are looking for a new manager after Carlo Ancelotti departed after 18 months in the hot seat at Goodison Park to return to Real Madrid. To discuss this and what is next for Everton, who's going to take over, and what it means for the Everton project going forward, I'm delighted to be joined by GB 800-metre runner and massive Everton fan, Joe Reid. Joe, thanks for joining me, mate. Let's get stuck right into it then. I don't think any Everton fans were expecting to be looking for a new manager this summer. So what are your initial thoughts on Carlo Ancelotti's departure, and how are the fan base viewing it at the moment?
My initial thoughts are, yeah, I'm a bit gutted to see him go. I thought, we've never, in my lifetime as an Everton fan, I've never had that sort of caliber manager be a Goodison. So it was awesome to have him there for a bit. And you can see, he's definitely improved some of our players. You look at Calvert-Lewin has undeniably got better this year. Godfrey, even some of the ones who we thought might have struggled, like Tom Davis, he actually had a really good season as well. So I think from that sense, yeah, I'm a bit gutted to see him go, especially the away form that we've had this year. I think, he's shown that tactically he was able to set us up to get results at places where historically we haven't been able to, obviously notably Anfield, Spurs, Arsenal, Leicester. We had some really good away results this year. So yeah, in that sense, I'm gutted. But on the other sense, it could be a good opportunity for Everton to move forward as a club. The home form wasn't good enough. I think some of the transfer strategies probably weren't in line with what a lot of the fans feel the club should be doing. As much as James, Alan, and Olsen, Josh King some of them have had good impact, some of them not so much. But they're all older players that a lot of the fans feel like we should be trying to go more along the line of the sort of Ben Godfrey route, 22, English, young, proven in the Premier League, that sort of thing. Carlo, that wasn't his sort of vibe. He was more sort of, experienced and been there, done it. But then obviously when you have a situation like now where a manager leaves the club, you're sort of left with that, aging players who have 2-year massive contracts. So yeah, I definitely think the fan base is split, but I'd personally like to be, I'm sad to see him go, sort of wish him all the best. But if the club get it right, it could be a big opportunity to take a step forward, not a step backward.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it obviously makes the next appointment really critical in the project. Obviously, you've had Farhad Moshiri come in with the backing over the years. Unfortunately, you're now looking for your fifth manager in 5 years. There's a new stadium on the horizon. Just how important is this next appointment in terms of the overall Everton project? I mean, there's been rumours of a possible return for David Moyes. I think that's perhaps a little bit wide of the mark and perhaps not the right direction to go in. Then you've got the likes of Eddie Howe and Nuno Espirito Santo that have been linked with it. Do any of those names excite you at all? And who would you like to see come in?
It's tough, mate, because like you said, I think this appointment is massive for the club, because you'd like to think that whoever gets this job is going to be the man to take Everton into the new stadium. And the club haven't shied away from saying that when they move into the new stadium, they want European football to be a regularity. They want Everton to be competing for domestic trophies and, getting in the European places regularly. So I think, this appointment, you want to see them get this one right, so that man is the man who takes Everton into the new stadium as this sort of new club almost, who aren't the bottle job failures. They can actually be, the new up and comers who've shown they can be successful. So yeah, the club have to get it right. I'll be honest, I'm not sure who I want to get it. None of the names out there at the minute particularly excite me, which again is part of the reason why I was gutted to see Carlo go, because I don't think it's a good window to be shopping for a manager. Like you said, Moyes, I can't see him leaving West Ham. He's had a great season with them and getting them into Europe. I think, why wouldn't he want to carry on that journey with them? They've had a really good year, and generally going back to a club never works, does it? Especially when he's left a pretty good legacy there. So I can't see that one happening. Eddie Howe, I'd like to see him take another job before maybe taking that step up again. I heard him linked with Celtic, although I don't think that's happened. I thought that's the sort of job that would have been good for him to prove that he, is the manager that the media make him out to be. So yeah, I wouldn't fancy him taking it. Nuno, I like him as a manager. I don't think his style or brand of football fits in with what I think Everton should be going for. I've grown up with an Everton team that I believe should be aggressive, fast-paced, pressing high, solid defensively, but are able to be direct going forward, quick. And that's not the sort of football I associate Nuno with. Watching his Wolves teams, they generally conceded a lot of possession, played on the counter, 5 at the back, and I just don't think the Everton fans would look forward to seeing that for 2 or 3 years at Goodison. It's tough because I don't think there's anyone out there who fits it. I don't want Big Dunk to have the job, but I think his sort of stint that he did last year before Carlo came in, that showed the sort of football that Everton have to play. I think that game that we had against Chelsea when we beat them 3-1, to me, that epitomises Everton. Chelsea had more of the ball that day with a better team, but Everton, we're absolute that underdog mentality of, you get stuck in, everyone, you got 11 players on the pitch fighting for each other, the crowd absolutely at it, clinical going forward, direct, fast-paced, yellow cards, aggressive. That's the sort of football that we want Everton to play. So again, some of the other names being linked to it, like Graham Potter, you're like, as much as I think his brand of football is great, I don't associate that with Everton. I think this might be a bit harsh, but he might be too soft for it. I think you've got to be pretty thick-skinned to take the job because, although realistic, the fans expect a lot. They expect nothing less than 100%. And when things don't go your way, you'll be knowing about it. So I just don't know if he's thick-skinned enough to do it. So I know I haven't answered your question, but yeah, I honestly don't know who I want to have it.
What if I mention the name Rafa Benitez? How do Everton fans feel about him? It's been muted. He's obviously lives on Merseyside, etc. Woods. Obviously, he's available, not contracted to a club at the moment, so he wouldn't have to pay a compensation fee. Does his Liverpool past completely rule him out, or do you think he could be a good fit at Everton?
His name's been brought up in the past, and often it's been knocked back because of his Liverpool links. I think this has been the first job vacancy that's come up that I've seen Everton fans legitimately thinking about it. Again, don't think his brand of football would be what we want. But I think he's done a pretty good job everywhere he's been. I think he's also been hamstrung by the owners that he's worked for in the past. And I think, Moshiri has proven that he's backed most managers that he's had since he's been at Goodison. So, yeah, it could be an interesting one. Whether the majority of Everton fans would want to see it happen, not sure. But I think that they could do a lot worse.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just a quick word on the transfer window. Obviously, again, it's probably going to have to wait and see till what manager comes in. But what areas do you think Everton need to strengthen? And what does the future hold for the likes of James Rodriguez and Alan, players that were obviously bought in because Carlo Ancelotti was at the club? Can you see them staying on this summer?
It's really tough, mate. I wouldn't be surprised if James left. I'd love to see him stay, and I think a lot of the Everton fans would love that as well, for him to get a full pre-season and get himself conditioned and match fit. Because he missed a lot of games this year, which probably was one of the big factors why we ended up missing out in Europe, because our best player wasn't available. I wouldn't be surprised if he left. Alan, I'd expect to stay as well. But again, like you said, I can't argue the point that they probably only came to the club because of Carlo. In terms of incomings this year, like I said before, I'd love to see the club go down the sort of Ben Godfrey route again. He was awesome for us this year, and I think that's exactly the sort of caliber player that we should be after. Young, hungry, point to prove. So I think we probably need a right back. Seamus Coleman's getting on a bit now, though he had a pretty solid season this year. We do need some competition there. Holgate's not a good enough right back to fill in. So again, sort of looking at the likes of Max Aarons, just that sort of caliber player who's, young English, got something to prove. I think we still need a midfielder who can pass the ball properly. And a couple of just quick forwards who can, just give you that out ball. Calvert-Lewin's quick. Richarlison's direct, but I think we just need a couple of players who can just carry the ball, get us up the pitch and really pose an attacking threat. So yeah, I'd love to see us in the market for that sort of caliber player. That's one of the good things about Ancelotti going is, he looked more on the 28, 29-year-old players, where I think if it's up to Marcel Brands, the director of football, he would go for the sort of 21, 22-year-old players.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just one last thing on a player that hasn't really had much of an Everton career at all, but seems to have done all right on loan at PSG. Do you think there's any future for Moise Kean going forwards?
I'd be surprised. I think from his side of things, it looks like he wants to go to PSG. 45 million's being the fee quoted, which is nothing to them really. So I think if they want him and they put the offer in, Everton would listen to it. But then on the other side of it, if no one came in for him and he did come back to the club, he's a good option to have. He's had a good year at PSG. We at times have definitely needed another striker. Calvert-Lewin, although he's had a good season, he hasn't been fit for all of it. There've been times where you think, would he be better in a 2? Is it just a good option to have coming off the bench? So yeah, I think either way, it's a win-win for Everton. You either get a good player back who's able to play a part in your season, or you get a good fee for him. But I'd expect him to move on.
Yeah, no, we'll have to wait and see. There's certainly a lot of interesting activity to take place at Everton over the summer months. So I'm sure it'll be exciting times for Everton fans. But that seems like a good place to end the video. So Joe, thanks very much for joining me. As always, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.